The shuttle broke through the green canopy and descended toward the landing zone. Kate Morrison pressed her face against the window, watching the endless jungle stretch in every direction. The trees below were massive, their trunks wider than Earth buildings, their leaves forming layers so thick that sunlight barely reached the ground. Beautiful, is it not? Click-Thress, their Cathari guide, chittered from across the cabin. His insect-like body shifted in the specially designed seat. Verdant 7 holds wonders beyond measure. Kate did not share his enthusiasm. She had read the briefing materials 3 times. Category 9. Death World. The classification alone should have stopped this expedition. But the Galactic Council wanted to prove their education program worked. They wanted to show that different species could study together, even in dangerous places. 12 students sat in the shuttle. Kate knew all their names now. There was Plix, a young Polian, whose blue skin gleamed with moisture. 3 Vryn students perched near the back, their feathered wings folded tight. 5 more Cathari scholars clicked and hummed to each other in their musical language. 2 Dendari students, plant-based beings who seemed excited to study their distant cousins. And Kate, the only human. The shuttle landed with a soft thud. The back ramp lowered, and humid air rushed into the cabin. Kate felt it immediately. The temperature was higher than the briefing suggested. The air was thick, heavy with moisture and something else, a scent like rotting fruit mixed with flowers. "Gather your equipment," Click-Thress announced. He moved down the ramp with confidence. "We will establish base camp at the forest edge. Remember your training. Stay together. Touch nothing without scanning it first." Kate picked up her pack. It was heavy with council-issued equipment. A scanner for identifying dangerous plants, a personal shield generator, an emergency beacon, a water purifier, medical supplies. She checked everything twice while the other students chatted excitedly. They entered the jungle in a tight group. The trees rose around them like walls. Vines hung everywhere, some as thick as Kate's leg. Strange flowers bloomed in clusters, their petals moving even though there was no wind. Small creatures scattered at their approach, darting into shadows. "Magnificent," one of the Vryn students whispered. His name was Kretal, and he carried a camera that recorded everything. The diversity here exceeds all projections. Kate walked near the back of the group. She watched the jungle around them. Something felt wrong. The briefing said the outer rim was relatively safe. It said, most dangerous predators stayed deeper in the forest. But Kate saw signs everywhere. Claw marks on trees, scored deep into the bark. Bones scattered in the undergrowth, picked clean. And the silence. No birds sang, no insects buzzed. The jungle was quiet, except for their footsteps. They made camp in a clearing. Click-Thress declared it perfect. Protected by large trees, close to a stream, with good visibility. The students set up their tents and equipment, while Kate helped establish a perimeter. She activated warning sensors around their camp, small devices that would alert them to movement. The first 2 days passed without incident. The students cataloged plants, took samples, and recorded data. Kate joined them but kept watching the jungle. She noticed patterns. The way certain plants grew in circles, like they were guarding something. The way some areas had no growth at all, as if animals avoided them. On the 3rd day, Plix found the flower. It grew deeper in the jungle, about 2 kilometers from camp. Its petals were silver and gold, shifting colors in the dim light. The Polian student was so excited he could barely speak. "This species was thought extinct," he said, his voice trembling. "We must document it properly." Click-Thress agreed. The whole group moved deeper into the jungle. Kate argued against it. "We should scout first," she said. "Send a small team, then bring everyone if it is safe." But she was outvoted. The other students wanted to see the rare flower. Click-Thress assured them the area was safe. His scanner showed no immediate threats. They would be quick, just an hour to take samples and recordings. The jungle changed as they moved deeper. The trees grew closer together. The light dimmed. Strange sounds echoed around them, clicks and whistles that made Kate's skin crawl. She kept her hand near her emergency beacon. They reached the flower garden just before noon. Dozens of the rare blooms grew in a natural clearing. The students spread out, each focusing on their specialty. Cameras flashed. Scanners hummed, sample containers filled with soil and petals. Kate stayed at the edge of the clearing. She noticed the bones first. They were half buried in the soft earth. Too many to count. Different species, different sizes, all picked clean. She was about to call out a warning when the first scream cut through the air. Something dropped from the canopy above. It was massive, easily 3 meters long, with 6 legs and a hide covered in armored plates. Its mouth opened to reveal rows of serrated teeth. It landed on Kretal, the Vryn student with the camera. The crunch of breaking bones echoed through the clearing. Chaos erupted. More creatures emerged from the shadows. They moved with terrible speed, their 6 legs carrying them in rapid bursts. The students scattered, screaming, trying to reach their weapons and shields. Click-Thress moved to protect his students. He activated his plasma cutter, a tool meant for plants, but deadly enough. He killed the first attacker, but 3 more took him down. Kate saw him fall, saw the light fade from his compound eyes. "Run!" Kate shouted. She grabbed the nearest student, one of the Dendari named Willow Song. "Back to camp! Now!" But the jungle had come alive. Vines snapped out like whips, wrapping around legs and arms. The flowers they had been studying released clouds of pollen that made the students choke and stumble, and the predators kept coming. Different types now, snake-like creatures that dropped from branches, small pack hunters that moved like earth wolves but with too many eyes. Kate's training kicked in. She had grown up hiking Earth's wilderness. She had learned to move through dangerous terrain, to read the signs of predators. She pulled Willow Song toward what looked like a game trail, a path worn by animals moving through the jungle. Behind them, the screams continued. Kate heard Plix crying out, heard the Cathari students' chittering turn to shrieks of pain. She wanted to go back, wanted to help them. But she knew the truth. Going back meant dying too. She ran. Willow Song stumbled beside her, the plant-based being struggling with the pace. 2 other students caught up with them, a Vryn named Sky Dancer and a Cathari called 7 Clicks. All 4 crashed through the jungle, their equipment forgotten, their only goal to survive. They ran for hours. The sounds of slaughter faded behind them, but new sounds replaced them. The heavy breathing of something large following their trail, the crack of branches breaking under massive weight. They were being hunted. Kate led them away from camp. She knew they could not reach it in time. The predators were too fast. Too many. She needed a different plan. She remembered something from her studies, from the briefing she had read so carefully. Apex predators had territories. They marked them and defended them. If she could find a territory marker, maybe the smaller predators would not follow. The sun was setting when Willow Song collapsed. The Dendari's root system had been damaged in the escape. Without proper soil and water, the student was dying. Sky Dancer and 7 Clicks huddled close, all of them exhausted and terrified. Kate checked her emergency beacon. It was broken, smashed during the run. Their communicators were not working. The jungle was interfering with the signals somehow. They were alone, cut off, and surrounded by things that wanted to kill them. "We need shelter," Kate said. Her voice was steady even though her hands shook. "We need water and a defensible position." But as darkness fell over the jungle, Kate knew the truth. They were not going to make it. The jungle had claimed 9 of their group already. It would claim the rest soon enough. Unless she did something the other students could not imagine. Unless she stopped running and started thinking like a predator herself. The jungle night came alive with sounds, howls and screams, clicks and roars. Kate sat with her dying companions and made a choice. She would not give up. She would not let Earth's reputation die here. She would survive, no matter what it took, and she would make sure everyone knew what really happened on Verdant 7. Willow Song died during the night. The Dendari student simply stopped moving, stopped breathing. Kate closed the being's eyes and whispered an apology. She had failed to save another one. Sky Dancer and 7 Clicks were in bad shape. The Vryn had a broken wing. The delicate bones snapped during the escape. The Cathari was fighting an infection from a bite on one of his legs. Both needed medical treatment they did not have. Both needed rest in a safe place that did not exist. Kate made a decision on the 6th day. She could not save them by staying defensive. The jungle was too hostile, too vast. They needed to reach the emergency supply depot, but it was 300 kilometers away through hostile territory. Her companions could not make that journey. "I am going to find help," she told them. It was a lie. There was no help coming. But she needed them to have hope. 7 Clicks chittered weakly. "You will die out there alone." "Maybe," Kate said. She gathered what little supplies they had left. "But staying here, we all die for sure. I am human. I am built for this." Skydancer laughed, a bitter sound. "Humans are not special. You are soft, slow. The galaxy knows this." Kate looked at the Vryn student. "My planet has storms that tear buildings apart. We have animals that hunt in packs and can run for days. We have deserts that cook you alive and oceans that freeze you solid. Earth is a Category 8 death world. I grew up there. This jungle is bad, but I understand bad." She left before they could argue more. In her heart, she knew they would not last another day. The jungle would claim them like it claimed the others, but maybe, just maybe, she could survive long enough to tell their story. Kate moved through the jungle with new purpose. She stopped trying to avoid everything. Instead, she watched how the predators moved. She learned their patterns. The 6-legged ambush cats hunted in the morning and evening. The canopy snakes were active during the hot midday. The pack hunters worked in groups but could be fooled by backtracking and crossing water. She found water that was safe by watching what the small plant eaters drank. She ate fruits that birds pecked at, figuring if something local could eat it, it probably would not kill her immediately. Her human stomach was tougher than most species realized. Humans evolved eating half-rotten meat and questionable plants. Her gut could handle things that would poison a Vryn. On the 8th day, Kate found the bones. They were in a clearing, scattered across the ground like decorations. Hundreds of them. Maybe thousands. Skulls from creatures she could not identify, rib cages picked clean, leg bones scored with massive claw marks. This was a killing ground, a place where something brought its prey to feed. Kate should have run. Every instinct screamed at her to leave immediately. But she noticed something else. There were no fresh kills. No blood. No rot. This place had not been used recently. She found the territory markers next. Trees with bark stripped away in long gouges. The claw marks were deep, cutting through wood like it was paper. And they were high up, at least 4 meters off the ground. Whatever made these marks was huge. Kate touched one of the gouges. Her finger traced the curved pattern. She thought about earth animals. Tigers marked territory. Bears did too. They were saying this place belonged to them. They were warning others to stay away. An idea formed in her mind. It was insane. It would probably get her killed. But Kate was already dying slowly from exhaustion and hunger. Why not die quickly trying something crazy? She made camp in the killing ground. She built a fire. Something she had avoided until now. Smoke rose through the canopy. A signal that something was here. Something that did not fear the jungle. The creature came at dusk. Kate saw it emerge from the shadows between the trees. Her breath caught in her throat. It was beautiful and terrible. The size of an earth tiger but built like a tank. 6 powerful legs, each ending in claws as long as Kate's forearm. Armored plates covered its spine and head, dark green with streaks of gold. Its face was wide, with mandibles that looked strong enough to crush stone. And its eyes. They glowed with a soft blue light, watching her with unmistakable intelligence. The creature approached slowly. Kate forced herself to stay still. Every part of her body wanted to run. But running meant dying. She had learned that lesson. The creature circled her fire. It was studying her, trying to understand what she was. Kate knew she looked strange to it. No fur, no natural weapons, skin exposed to the elements. Humans looked weak to most species. "I know what you are thinking," Kate said quietly. Her voice was steady despite her fear. "You are wondering if I am food or competition." The creature tilted its massive head. Its mandibles clicked together, a sound like stones grinding. Kate continued talking. It helped her stay calm. "I am neither. I am just trying to survive. Same as you." The creature moved closer. Kate could smell it now, a scent like rain on hot stone. It lowered its head, bringing those glowing eyes level with hers. They were less than a meter apart. Kate did not look away. She had read about animal behavior. Looking away meant submission or fear. Staring meant challenge. She needed something in between. She kept her gaze steady, but relaxed, showing she was not afraid, but not trying to fight either. The creature made a sound. It was not a roar or a growl. It was almost a purr, deep and rumbling. Then it did something Kate did not expect. It pressed its armored head against her chest, gently, like a cat seeking attention. Kate's hand moved without thinking. She placed it on the creature's skull, feeling the warm plates under her palm. "Hello there," she whispered. The creature pulled back and circled her again. Then it left, disappearing into the jungle as silently as it had arrived. Kate sat by her fire for hours, shaking from adrenaline. She had just made contact with an apex predator from a Category 9 death world, and it had not killed her. It had touched her, like it was deciding something. The creature returned during the night. Kate woke to find it lying near her fire, its massive body forming a protective barrier between her and the jungle. She watched it sleep, saw the way its sides rose and fell with each breath. In the morning, the creature brought her food. It dropped a dead animal at her feet, something like a rabbit but with too many legs. Then it sat back and watched her with those glowing eyes. Kate understood. This was a test. Could she eat what it brought? Could she survive in its world? She skinned the animal with her knife and cooked it over the fire. The meat was tough but edible. She ate half and offered the rest back to the creature. It sniffed the cooked meat, seemed almost amused, then ate it in 2 bites. Over the next 3 days, a pattern formed. The creature would leave to hunt, then return. It brought her food and water, showed her which plants were safe. It guarded her while she slept. And slowly, Kate began to understand. This creature was not helping her out of kindness. It was forming a pack. In this jungle, only the strongest survived. But 2 strong beings together were stronger than one. The creature recognized something in Kate. A will to survive, a refusal to quit. Kate named it Striker, watching how it moved when hunting. The attacks were lightning fast, precise, deadly. Striker seemed to approve of the name, or at least did not object. On her 10th day in the jungle, Kate saw something that changed everything. Another one of Striker's species appeared, challenging for territory. The fight was brutal and quick. Striker fought with a ferocity that made Kate's blood run cold. The other creature fled, bleeding from a dozen wounds. Striker returned to Kate and pressed its head against her again. This time, Kate understood the gesture. They were bonded now. Pack. Family. Whatever you wanted to call it. In this jungle that killed everything, they had found each other. And together, maybe they could do something impossible. Kate looked at the jungle stretching in every direction. 300 kilometers to the supply depot. 300 kilometers through the most dangerous terrain in this sector of space. She should have felt terrified. Instead, she felt determined. "All right, Striker," she said, scratching behind the creature's armored plates. "Let's show the galaxy what a human and a Deathworld tiger can do." Striker made that purring sound again. Its glowing eyes seemed to understand. They had a long journey ahead, but neither of them planned to quit. They were both apex predators in their own way, and this jungle was about to learn what that really meant. The journey began at dawn. Kate packed what little she had, mostly samples and data she had collected. Evidence of what killed her classmates. Proof that the council had sent them unprepared into a death trap. She tied everything into a makeshift pack using strips of synthetic fabric from her torn uniform. Stryker watched her preparations with those glowing blue eyes. The massive creature seemed to understand they were leaving its territory. It paced around the clearing, making low rumbling sounds that Kate had learned meant concern. "I know," Kate said, adjusting the pack straps. 300 kilometers. 12 days if we are lucky. Longer if we are not. On one. Chinji. Kate said Biadu 4 Menders said. On one with 4. Longer 4 Menders. Longer 4 Menders. Longer 4 Menders. Longer. She had found an old map in her equipment, somehow still functioning. The supply depot showed as a blinking marker on the edge of the jungle. Near the original landing zone, the council placed emergency supplies there for exactly this situation, not that they expected anyone to reach it. Kate and Stryker moved through the jungle like a hunting team. She walked ahead, using her human intelligence to navigate terrain and spot dangers. Stryker followed close, its 6 legs moving silently despite its size. When predators appeared, they worked together. Kate would identify the threat, and Stryker would eliminate it with brutal efficiency. On the second day, they encountered a pack of the 6-legged ambush cats. There were 8 of them, more than even Stryker should handle alone. But Kate had an idea. She climbed a tree, something the cats did not expect. From above, she threw rocks and broken branches, distracting them. While they looked up at her, Stryker attacked from the side. The fight was over in minutes. Stryker looked up at Kate in the tree. If a massive armored predator could look impressed, it did. Kate climbed down, grinning despite the danger. "Teamwork," she said. "That is the human advantage." They crossed rivers that ran fast and deep. Kate could swim, but Stryker struggled with the current. She used vines to create a basic harness, tying herself to the creature. They crossed together, Kate's lighter weight riding on Stryker's back while the powerful legs fought the water. It was undignified for both of them. But it worked. The jungle changed as they traveled. The trees grew taller, the canopy thicker. Some areas were so dark that Kate needed her emergency light. Other sections opened into clearings, filled with flowers that released spores when disturbed. Kate learned to hold her breath and run through these areas, while Stryker crashed ahead, immune to whatever toxins the plants released. On the 5th day, they found other survivors, or what was left of them. Kate recognized the equipment first. Council-issued gear, scattered around a small cave. Then she saw the bones, Skydancer and 7 Clicks. They had made it this far before the jungle took them. Kate buried them as best she could. She said words she remembered from Earth funerals. Stryker sat nearby, watching the ceremony with quiet attention. When Kate finished, the creature pressed its head against her shoulder. A gesture of comfort. 12 of us came here, Kate said quietly. 12 bright students who wanted to learn. Now, I am the only one left. Stryker made a low sound, almost like a question. Yes, Kate answered. Though she knew the creature could not understand her words. I am going to make sure everyone knows what happened. They will not forget you. Any of you. The journey continued. Kate's emergency beacon, broken since the first day, suddenly crackled to life. The signal was weak, but functioning. She had no way to know if anyone was receiving it. The council had probably written them all off as dead by now, but she kept it active anyway. Unknown to Kate, her beacon was reaching a monitoring station in orbit. A junior analyst, named Chris Bennett, sat at his console, staring at the impossible signal. One biosignature, still active, moving steadily through the jungle. His superiors dismissed it as a malfunction. Nothing survived 2 weeks on Verdant 7. Nothing. But Chris was human too. He knew his people. He knew about stubbornness and refusal to quit. He flagged the signal as priority and sent a message to the human transport vessel in the sector. Captain Linda Hayes received it with disbelief, then determination. She ordered her ship to maintain position near Verdant 7, ready to respond. Kate knew none of this. She focused on each day, each kilometer. Her body was breaking down. She had lost weight. Her uniform hung loose. Cuts and bruises covered her arms and legs. The jungle's humidity made everything difficult, but she kept moving. Giving up was not an option. On day 8, they reached the halfway point. Kate marked it on her map. A small victory. Stryker brought her fresh water from a stream, carrying it in broad leaves. The creature had learned what she needed, what kept her alive. Their partnership had become seamless. That night, they heard something in the darkness. Not the usual jungle sounds. This was different. Mechanical. Metal scraping against metal. Kate's heart jumped. Could it be a council patrol? A rescue team? She grabbed her beacon and activated the emergency signal at full power. The sound stopped. Then started again. Closer. Something was moving toward them through the trees. Stryker positioned itself between Kate and the sound, ready to fight. But Kate held up her hand. "Wait," she whispered. "Let me see what it is first." What emerged from the jungle was not a rescue team. It was a maintenance drone, one of the automated units the Council used to monitor dangerous worlds. It was damaged, missing parts, covered in moss and vines. But its sensors were still active, sweeping the area. The drone's light fell on Kate. It stopped moving. Its systems processed what it was seeing. A human. Alive. After 15 days on Verdant 7, Kate waved at the drone. "Hi there. I know I look terrible, but I need you to send a message." The drone's communication system crackled. A recorded message played, asking for identification and status. "Kate Morrison," she said clearly. "Human student. Frontier Studies Initiative. I am the sole survivor of the expedition. All other students are dead. I am traveling to the emergency supply depot with a companion. We will arrive in 4 days. Tell the Council to send a ship. Tell them to send medical supplies. And tell them to prepare for 2 passengers." The drone processed her words. Then it transmitted. The signal was weak, but it reached the monitoring station. Chris Bennett received it with tears in his eyes. He immediately forwarded it to every authority he could reach. The Council received the message with shock. Ambassador Threll, a Vryn official, insisted it was impossible. Humans could not survive on Category 9 death worlds. It had to be a malfunction, a recording from before the disaster. But Captain Hayes knew better. She prepared the Nightingale for immediate deployment. She gathered medical staff and security teams, and she made sure the Council knew that humanity was coming for their survivor, no matter what it took. Kate watched the drone leave, its damaged systems struggling to fly. She hoped the message got through. She hoped someone was listening. 4 more days, she told Stryker. The creature tilted its massive head, those glowing eyes watching her. 4 more days, and we show the galaxy what we are made of. They continued through the jungle. The terrain grew more difficult. Rocky cliffs, deep ravines, areas where the trees grew so thick they had to find alternate routes. But Kate and Stryker adapted. They climbed, swam, fought, and survived. On day 11, Kate saw something that made her stop. Footprints. Human footprints. Old ones. Almost washed away by rain. They led toward a cliff face, ending at a pile of rocks. Kate recognized what it was. A grave. Someone else had been here. Another human. Maybe from an earlier expedition. They had made it this far before dying. She added a rock to the pile, a memorial from one human to another. "We are close now," Kate said. She could feel it. The air smelled different, less oppressive. The jungle was thinning. They were approaching the edge, the boundary between the deadly interior and the monitored outer rim. On day 12, they reached the supply depot. It sat in a clearing, a reinforced building designed to withstand the jungle. But the jungle had still gotten in. Vines covered the walls, The door hung open, torn from its hinges by something large. Kate approached cautiously. Stryker went first, clearing the interior. Several predators had made the depot their den. They fled when Stryker roared, a sound so loud it made Kate's ears ring. Inside, Kate found what she needed. Medical supplies, communication equipment, emergency rations, and most importantly, a long-range transmitter that could reach ships in orbit. She treated her wounds first, cleaning cuts that had started to infect. She drank clean water and ate food that did not come from something Stryker killed. Her body thanked her for every calorie. Then Kate powered up the transmitter. It took 3 tries, but finally the system connected. She sent a direct message to the Council's emergency channel. "This is Kate Morrison, human survivor from the Frontier Studies Initiative. I am at the emergency supply depot. I request immediate extraction. Be advised, I have a companion, a native species. It saved my life. I will not leave it behind. Send the pickup ship in 4 days to the extraction point." Kate Morrison, signing off. She released the transmit button and sat back. It was done. She had survived. Against every odd, against every prediction, she had made it. Stryker lay down beside her, its massive body warm and solid. Kate leaned against the creature, feeling the rumble of its breathing. They had done the impossible together. A human from Earth and a tiger from a death-world jungle. 2 apex predators who refused to die. Now came the hard part. Convincing the galaxy that Stryker was not a monster, but her savior. Convincing them that this creature deserved protection, not destruction. And making sure no one ever forgot the 12 students who died because the Council sent them unprepared. Kate looked at her companion. "Ready for the next fight?" she asked. "Because I promise you, dealing with the Council will be harder than surviving the jungle." Stryker made that purring sound, the one Kate had learned meant agreement. Its glowing eyes seemed to understand. They had survived the impossible. Whatever came next, they would face it together. 4 days felt like an eternity. Kate used the time to prepare. She organized all her evidence, all the recordings and samples she had collected. She wrote detailed reports about what killed each student. She documented the Council's failures, the inadequate equipment, the dismissive attitude toward death-world dangers. Stryker stayed close during those 4 days. The creature seemed to sense something was changing. It paced around the clearing, occasionally disappearing into the jungle, but always returning. Kate worked on a harness for the massive predator, something that would make communication easier and show the Council that Stryker was under control. The harness was crude, made from salvaged straps and synthetic rope, but Stryker tolerated it, especially when Kate attached a small speaker that let her give commands. She taught the creature basic signals. A clicking sound meant stop, a whistle meant come, a low hum meant danger. Stryker learned quickly. Too quickly. Kate realized this species had intelligence far beyond what the Council suspected. The creature understood cause and effect, recognized patterns, and could plan ahead. It was not a pet or a beast of burden. It was a thinking being that had chosen to help her. On the morning of the 4th day, Kate heard the ships, 3 of them, breaking through the cloud cover and descending toward the extraction point. She activated her beacon at full power and grabbed her pack. Everything she had worked for, everything she had survived for, came down to this moment. "Let's go meet them," she said to Stryker. The creature followed her out of the supply depot and toward the designated landing zone. The ships touched down in sequence. Kate recognized the designs. One human vessel, the Nightingale, with Earth's flag painted on its hull, one Cathari science ship, probably sent to investigate what happened, and a Council diplomatic shuttle, smaller but more heavily armed. The ramps lowered. People emerged, and Kate felt a rush of emotion she had not expected. Other humans. Captain Linda Hayes led the group, wearing a full combat suit. Behind her came medical staff and security personnel, all watching the jungle with nervous eyes. From the Cathari ship came scientists in protective gear. and from the council shuttle emerged Ambassador Threll, a Vryn official whose feathers were perfectly groomed despite the humidity. Kate walked forward with Stryker at her side. She watched the reactions. The human team tensed, but held position. The Cathari scientists backed away quickly, and the council security forces raised their weapons, pointing directly at Stryker. "Lower your weapons," Captain Hayes ordered. Ambassador Threll fluttered his wings. "Captain, that creature is a Category 9 apex predator. It presents an immediate threat." "That creature," Kate said loudly, "is the reason I am alive. His name is Stryker. And if anyone shoots him, I will consider it an act of war against Earth." The clearing fell silent. Kate continued walking forward until she stood face to face with Captain Hayes. The older woman looked her up and down, taking in the torn uniform, the scars, the weight loss. "Kate Morrison?" Hayes asked. "Yes, ma'am. You look like hell, kid." Kate laughed, a sound that surprised her. "I survived hell, ma'am. That is what humans do." Hayes smiled, then pulled Kate into a brief hug. "Welcome back. Let's get you checked out." The medical team moved forward, but they kept glancing nervously at Stryker. The creature had settled onto its haunches, watching everything with those glowing blue eyes. Its armored plates caught the sunlight, making it look even more formidable. Kate held up a hand. "Before we do anything, I need to make something clear. Stryker comes with me. He is not a specimen to study. He is not a threat to contain. He is my companion, and he is under my protection." Ambassador Threll approached, his talons clicking on the ground. "Miss Morrison, I understand you have been through trauma. But that creature cannot leave this world. It is a dangerous animal, from a restricted ecosystem. He is a sentient being," Kate corrected, "and he showed more intelligence and compassion than your entire council program. While your equipment failed, while your safety protocols proved worthless, Stryker kept me alive. He brought me food and water. He protected me from predators. He formed a partnership with me based on mutual respect." One of the Cathari scientists chittered forward. His name badge read, "Doctor, 7 Minds." "Fascinating. If true. But you must understand our concerns. The Cathrax species is unstudied. We do not know its capabilities." "I know its capabilities," Kate said. "I have lived with one for nearly 3 weeks. I have watched him hunt, fight, and think, and I am telling you, he deserves the same rights as any other intelligent species in the galaxy." Captain Hayes stepped in. "Let's table the philosophical debate for now. Kate needs medical attention. We need to debrief her, and we need to hear what happened to the other students. All of that can happen on the ship." "With Stryker," Kate insisted. Hayes looked at the massive creature. Stryker stared back, unmoving. The captain made a decision. "With Stryker. But you are responsible for him. Any problems, any incidents, and this conversation ends differently." "Understood," Kate said. Loading Stryker onto the Nightingale was an adventure. The creature did not like the ship's ramp. Kate had to walk up first, calling to him. Finally, Stryker followed, his 6 legs adjusting to the metal surface. The crew watched with a mixture of fear and awe. As the apex predator boarded their vessel, they gave Kate a private cabin with enough space for Stryker. The creature explored the room cautiously, sniffing everything. Finally, it settled in a corner, where it could watch both doors. Kate collapsed onto the bed, her body finally acknowledging how exhausted she was. A medic came. A young woman named Lisa Turner. She scanned Kate from head to toe, her expression growing more concerned with each reading. "You should be dead," Lisa said bluntly. "The infections alone should have killed you. The malnutrition, the dehydration, the exposure. How are you standing?" Kate smiled weakly. Human stubbornness. And excellent motivation. Lisa treated her wounds, gave her medication, and set up an IV drip. You will need weeks of recovery. Maybe months. I will rest when I am done, Kate said. Right now, I need to give my testimony. The debriefing happened in the Nightingale's conference room. Kate sat at one end of a long table. Captain Hayes sat at the other. Ambassador Threll attended via video link, his image displayed on a screen. Several council officials joined him, all looking uncomfortable. Kate began her testimony. She spoke for 3 hours, detailing everything. The failed equipment, the inadequate preparation, the arrogance of assuming technology would protect them on a death world. She played recordings from her scanner, showing the moments of the attack. She displayed samples of the plants and predators that killed her classmates. When she described finding Skydancer in 7 clicks, her voice broke. But she continued. The council needed to hear every detail. Ambassador Threll tried to interrupt several times. This is clearly an unfortunate accident. The jungle's dangers were underestimated. They were not underestimated, Kate said coldly. They were ignored. I read the briefing materials. I saw the classifications. Category 9, Death World. That should have meant military-grade protection. That should have meant armed escorts. Instead, we got basic scanners and personal shields that failed in the first attack. She pulled up another file. I also have evidence that my emergency beacon was transmitting, that the monitoring station detected my survival, and that no rescue attempt was made for over 2 weeks. Captain Hayes leaned forward. Is that true, Ambassador? Threll's feathers ruffled. The signals were deemed unreliable. A rescue operation on a Category 9 world would have risked more lives. So you left me to die, Kate said. You wrote us all off and planned to move on quietly. One of the council officials, a Polian named Waters Deep, spoke up. Miss Morrison, please understand. Rescue operations on death worlds are extremely expensive and politically complicated. Kate stood, her hands flat on the table. My classmates died because the council prioritized cost over safety. They died because you wanted good publicity for your education program. They died because no one wanted to admit that sending students to a Category 9 world was criminally negligent. The room fell silent. Kate continued. I am going to make sure everyone knows the truth. Every species in the galaxy will hear about the Frontier Studies Initiative and what it really cost. 12 bright, eager students, all dead because the council cut corners. Ambassador Threll looked uncomfortable. What do you want, Miss Morrison? Kate sat back down. I want Stryker protected under refugee status. I want the Frontier Studies Initiative shut down pending a full investigation. I want new protocols for any expeditions to Category 8 or higher worlds, written with input from Deathworld species, like humans. And I want a memorial for my classmates where everyone can see it. Captain Hayes nodded. Reasonable demands. I will make sure Earth's government supports every one of them. The council officials conferred via their links. Finally, Waters Deep spoke. We will agree to these terms. But Miss Morrison, you must understand. This will cause significant political difficulties. Good, Kate said. Maybe next time you will think twice before risking students' lives for good publicity. The meeting ended. Kate returned to her cabin to find Stryker had not moved from his corner. The creature watched her enter, then made that low purring sound. Kate sat beside him, leaning against the armored plates. We did it, she whispered. We survived. And now we are going to make sure it mattered. Stryker pressed his massive head against her shoulder. In that moment, Kate felt the weight of everything finally lift. She had survived. She had made it home. And she had ensured her classmates would not be forgotten. The Nightingale broke orbit, leaving Verdant 7 behind. Kate watched the green planet shrink in the viewport. Somewhere down there, in a clearing marked only by stones, 12 students rested. She had promised them justice. Now, she would deliver it. Whatever came next, whatever challenges waited at Gateway Station and beyond, Kate knew she would face them. She had survived a death-world jungle with nothing but her wits and the partnership of a creature the galaxy feared. Everything else seemed easy by comparison. Gateway Station orbited a neutral star system, serving as the Council's diplomatic hub. When the Nightingale docked, news crews from a dozen species were waiting. The story had spread across the galaxy. A human survived a Category 9 death world with an apex predator as a companion. Kate watched the crowds through the viewport. This is going to be difficult, is it not? Captain Hayes stood beside her. Yes, but you have handled worse. Just remember, half of them think you are a hero. The other half think you are a threat. Do not give either side ammunition. Stryker rumbled beside them, sensing the tension. The creature had adapted to the ship during their 3-day journey. He learned to navigate the corridors, understood when doors would open, and even tolerated the crew watching him with curious eyes. They disembarked together. Kate walked down the ramp with Stryker at her side. Cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions in a dozen languages. Security forces formed a barrier, keeping the crowds back. Ambassador Threll waited at the end of the docking bay, along with several other council officials. His expression was carefully neutral. Miss Morrison, welcome to Gateway Station. I trust your journey was comfortable. It was fine, Kate said. She noticed the way the officials watched Stryker, ready to run. Where are we going? Where are we going? A private meeting room. The formal inquiry begins tomorrow. There are also families here. The families of your classmates. They wish to speak with you. Kate's stomach tightened. She had known this moment would come, facing the people whose children she could not save. I will speak with them. But Stryker stays with me. The meeting room was large enough to accommodate everyone. Tables were arranged in a circle, with a raised platform for the council representatives. Kate sat in the witness section, Stryker lying on the floor beside her chair. The families filed in quietly, taking their seats. Kate recognized some of them from photos her classmates had shared. Plix's parent group, 3 Polians who moved as one unit. Kretal's mother, an elderly Vryn with gray feathers. Klikthres had no family present. His species did not maintain individual relationships after maturity. A Cathari female approached Kate directly. Her carapace was painted with mourning symbols. You knew my daughter. Willow Song. Kate stood. Yes. She was kind. She tried to help everyone, even when she was dying herself. The Cathari mother's antennae drooped. Tell me. Did she suffer? Kate chose her words carefully. She died peacefully in the night. I stayed with her until the end. She was not alone. The mother touched Kate's arm, a gesture of gratitude among her species. Thank you for that kindness. More families approached. Each one wanted details, wanted to know their child's last moments. Kate told them everything she could remember. Some cried, others simply listened in silence. All of them thanked her for surviving to tell their stories. When the families left, Kate felt drained. Captain Hayes appeared with food and water. You did well. That could not have been easy. It was necessary, Kate said. She fed some of the food to Stryker, who had remained perfectly still during the entire meeting. They deserved to know. The formal inquiry began the next morning. Kate testified again, this time before a panel of council judges. They questioned every detail of her story. How had she survived when others died? What proof did she have of equipment failure? How could she be certain the council had received her beacon signals? Kate provided evidence for everything. Scanner logs, communication records, even tissue samples from her classmates, preserved in her emergency kit. The judges reviewed it all with growing discomfort. Chris Bennett testified next. The young analyst described how he had detected Kate's beacon early, how he had reported it to his superiors, and how he had been ordered to dismiss it as a system error. Why did you disobey that order? One judge asked. Chris looked directly at Kate. Because she was human. And humans do not quit. I knew if anyone could survive, it would be one of us. Captain Hayes testified about the rescue operation. She explained how Earth's government had pushed for immediate action while the Council delayed. How political concerns had nearly prevented any rescue attempt at all. Then came the xenobiologists, brought in to assess Stryker. Dr. Seven Minds led the examination. He scanned the creature, recorded its vocalizations, and tested its responses to various stimuli. Remarkable, the Kethari scientist concluded. This species displays problem-solving abilities equivalent to pre-spaceflight civilizations. It understands abstract concepts like cooperation and delayed gratification, and most surprisingly, it has formed what appears to be a genuine emotional bond with Miss Morrison. Ambassador Threll stood. But it remains a dangerous predator. Surely it cannot be allowed to travel freely through Council space. Kate stood as well. Stryker is no more dangerous than any other species in this room. Less so, actually, because he knows how to control his instincts. He has been on a ship with dozens of crew members for 3 days. No incidents, no aggression, no problems. He is a thinking being who deserves respect, not imprisonment. One of the judges, an elderly Vryn named Scholar of Stars, leaned forward. Miss Morrison, what you ask is unprecedented. Granting refugee status to a pre-spaceflight species. What happened on Verdant 7 was unprecedented too, Kate replied. 12 students died because the Council refused to admit death worlds require special handling. Stryker saved me because he understood what your entire bureaucracy could not. Sometimes, survival requires partnership, not dominance. The inquiry lasted 3 days. On the 4th day, the judges delivered their verdict. The Frontier Studies Initiative would be shut down immediately. All Category 8 and higher world expeditions would require military-grade support and Death World species advisors. The Council would establish a memorial for the 12 fallen students, and Stryker would be granted provisional refugee status under Kate's guardianship. Ambassador Threll looked unhappy but accepted the ruling. This sets a dangerous precedent, he muttered. Good, Kate said. Maybe it will save lives. Captain Hayes approached Kate after the verdict. Earth's government has an offer for you. They want you to lead a new program. Training teams for Death World operations, teaching others what you learned. Kate looked at Stryker, who had been patient through days of testimony and examination. What about him? He comes with you. Think of him as your co-instructor. Let people see what is possible when different species work together. Kate considered the offer. She could return to her studies, finish her degree, try to return to a normal life, but she knew that was not possible anymore. She had changed. The jungle had changed her. She understood things about survival that most species never learned. I accept, she said, but I want full authority over curriculum. And I want human advisors on every Council expedition to dangerous worlds. Done, Hayes agreed. 6 months later, Kate stood in a training facility on Earth's moon. 20 students sat before her, a mix of species including 3 humans. Stryker lay beside the podium, calm and attentive. Welcome to Advanced Death World Survival, Kate began. I am going to teach you things the Council does not want you to know. I am going to show you how to survive in places that should kill you. And I am going to make sure no one else dies, because they underestimated the dangers. She activated a display showing Verdant 7. This is where 12 of my classmates died, bright, eager students who trusted the Council to keep them safe. That trust was betrayed. I survived because I stopped trusting technology and started trusting instincts. Stryker stood and walked to the center of the room. The students watched nervously as the massive creature moved among them. This is Stryker, Kate continued. He comes from that same deadly jungle. By all Council classifications, he should be a mindless killer. Instead, he is my partner. He saved my life dozens of times. He taught me that intelligence comes in many forms, and that survival requires respect for your environment. A Vryn student raised her wing. How do we learn to bond with dangerous species like you did? Kate smiled. You do not. What Stryker and I have is unique. But you can learn the principles. Respect over fear. Observation over assumption. Adaptation over rigid protocols. These are the skills that keep you alive on death worlds. She spent the next hour covering basics: how to read predator behavior, how to identify safe water sources, how to move through hostile terrain without triggering defensive responses. The students took notes frantically, realizing this was nothing like their regular classes. At the end of the session, a young human approached. His name was Danny Cooper, fresh out of university. "Miss Morrison, can I ask something personal?" "Go ahead. Do you regret going to Verdant 7? Knowing what happened, what you lost, would you change it?" Kate looked at Stryker, who had returned to her side. "I regret that my classmates died. I regret that the Council's negligence cost 12 lives, but I do not regret surviving. I do not regret meeting Stryker, and I do not regret being able to stand here and teach you how to avoid the same mistakes," she continued. "Death worlds are called that for a reason. They are dangerous, hostile, and unforgiving. But they are also real. They are part of our galaxy, and humans, more than any other species, understand them, because we come from one. Earth is a Category 8 death world. We evolved in a place with predators, diseases, and natural disasters. That is not a weakness. That is our strength." The students began to understand. This was not just a survival course. This was a new way of thinking about humanity's place in the galaxy. After class, Kate visited the memorial. It stood in a public square on Gateway Station, a simple stone structure with 12 names carved into it. Flowers and offerings from a dozen species surrounded the base. Kate placed her hand on Clickthres's name. "I kept my promise," she whispered. "Everyone knows what happened. Everyone remembers you." Stryker pressed against her side, offering silent comfort. They stood there for a long time, two survivors honoring the dead. A message arrived on Kate's comm device. Another human student had been selected for a Death World expedition. They were nervous, asking for advice. Kate responded immediately. "Fear is healthy. It keeps you alert. Respect the world you are entering. Learn from it instead of trying to conquer it. Remember that humans evolved on a death world too. That is not a weakness. That is your greatest strength. And if things go wrong, do not give up. Humans are survivors. Show the galaxy what that really means." She sent the message and looked at the stars above. Somewhere out there were dozens of death worlds. Dozens of opportunities for disaster. But also dozens of opportunities for humans to prove themselves, to show that survival was not about having the best technology or the strongest military. It was about adaptability, endurance, and the willingness to learn. Kate Morrison had survived when she should have died. She had brought back evidence that changed galactic policy. She had saved a species from being classified as a mindless predator, and she had created a program that would train others to do the same. The jungle had claimed 12 students, but it had also forged a survivor. Someone who understood that humanity's greatest advantage was not their intelligence or their technology. It was their refusal to quit, their ability to adapt to any environment, no matter how hostile. Their willingness to form partnerships where others saw only threats. Kate looked at Stryker, her companion from the deadly green jungle. Together, they walked back toward the training facility. There were more students to teach, more lives to save, more stories to tell about what happened when you underestimated a human, or a death world tiger, or the power of refusing to give up. The galaxy was learning. Slowly, carefully, but learning. And Kate would make sure that lesson was never forgotten. Because that was what survivors did. They remembered. They taught. And they made sure no one else had to die alone in a jungle that should have killed them too.